Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new panel for LAMC. This year we're going online. I'm Ines Zapotnik. I'm Retail Marketing Director for Latin America and US Latin at The Orchard. And I have here lots of great people to talk about a very important subject in these times, which is how to get on the radar on digital platforms. We've got a great group of people, some of my favorite in the industry, I have to say. So I want to quickly introduce everyone. We've got Amaya Mendizabal, who is Latin music curator at Amazon Music. We've got Ellen Flores, who is program director at SiriusXM. We've got Henrique Fares, who is head of music industry relations for Latin America at TikTok. We have Michelle Garcia Romero, who is artist marketing manager at Deezer. And we have Jesus Trivino, who is senior director of global Latin content and culture at Tidal. So we've got a great crew. We've got so much to talk about. And I want to start by a very straightforward question that has to do with, current obsession today in digital music, which is playlisting. Seems like everybody is all about playlists. So my first question is going to be very straightforward. I would love Amaya to begin answering, and then I would love to everybody, say whatever you think. So how much impact do you think playlists actually have in breaking a song or an artist?
Thank you, Ines. I'm very happy to be here. So at Amazon Music, I think it makes a big impact. There's different types of customers that want different types of listening experiences, people that know exactly what they want, and those who might want a professionally curated lean back experience. And that's what we aim to provide for them. We work a lot on creating different lanes for different types of music, eras, genres, types of artists, etc., to create the best customer experience possible, and put a lot of work into doing that.
Mitch, what are your thoughts on this? Are playlists everything?
Well, I think first of all, it's good to understand why playlists are made, and then you already started answering that, and it's for the music to accompany the users during a specific times of their day. Either it's to concentrate on work, for a party, for working out, as a chill out experience. And it's our responsibility to really create playlists that fit those moments and those moods for the users. It's to give them exactly what they want with one click. And on the artist part, it does play an important role, as it's a way for us to introduce music to users, but the impact will depend on finding, let's say, an appropriate space or placement in let's call it like right playlist, because we want is that your music or musician's music fits the mood that the user is looking for. And the goal is to keep them engaged. And as long as we maintain this goal, we're gonna look for positive outcomes and positive results in data that would help really get those streams that musicians want.
Agreed. So basically, playlists is a great tool to get visibility, but it doesn't always work. It has to be, it has to be programmed in the right way, and not everything can fit everywhere. So Jesus, I was wondering, you're a programmer yourself. You're in charge of the whole Latin operation at Tidal, which is amazing. Do you work do you have an escalation plan, like start with new releases playlist, and then, if it works, go to smaller playlists, and then to medium playlists, and then to the big ones? You all have flagship playlists everyone is obsessed about. So Jesus, I was wondering, how do you work that? Do you try the songs in different playlists? Is there any kind of plan?
I would say yes, definitely. You can hear me, right?
Yes, perfect.
These are new headphones. But yeah, especially when we're rising artists, right? So rising artists, we definitely, which I feel like benefit the most. Not that I mean every artist benefits from playlists, but I feel like rising artists specifically because we're, Maya, myself, we're hand selecting these people. Like, hey, these are the people you should be listening to next. So yeah, there is. All right, you can go on this rising playlist, and then the next song, if it's better, you can go on another. You can stay on this playlist, but you can go on to this next playlist, which is the next level and the next level. And as they say, there's levels to this, right? So playlists are like different levels. So you get each platform has their own, like I said, their biggest playlists that be reserved for the biggest artists and the ones that are going to get the most traction. But sometimes, at least for us at Tidal, because we are very concentrated on human curation, if the song is a hit or it's really good, we're going to put it in as many places as we can and show the artist as much love as possible. It doesn't matter if it's J Balvin or MC Get Busy. So
Perfect. And Ellen, do you feel like there's something I think a lot about? Do you think sometimes getting an artist in a playlist which is not a good fit for them, although they're big playlists or radio stations or whatever, can harm them more than do them good? Do you think can you think of, I mean, not specific examples to, not talk about a certain artist or release, but do you feel like sometimes rushing into getting them these perhaps too big placements can harm them?
Well, in my case, it's a little different because SiriusXM, obviously, we're entertainment, news, and broadcasting company at our core. We do have a streaming component. My role in this whole spectrum is more so of creating content and creating a home for all these artists. Playlists for me are a tool. More so than creating them, I use them as an asset to create an environment where an artist can flourish. Because many times, as our fellow panelists have spoken, you might fit on a certain playlist, but not in another one. And then when you release your next track, it might not fit anywhere. But sometimes having that space of, be it a traditional format or a digital format that has a sound, like for example, La Cueva, which is Latin rock and alternative, it gives you a space that a playlist might not offer, or that it could benefit as a bounce back from a playlist. I think the same rule as public relations, no press is bad press. So I don't think it's a case of make or break. I think it's more so just that an artist always needs to create a story and have a place where to take that story, whether it's good or bad, rushed or not.
Yeah, I agree. And I love something that it's going to be my new mantra. Playlist is a tool. It's not an objective. And I think a lot of the, impatience of artists wanted to get also to specific playlists, which is, as I discussed before, you guys have on streaming services flagship playlist. I don't know, Dalla Reggaeton or Fresco or Caliente or Fuego Latino. There are so many, and they're the big ones, the big exposure. So how do you feel? I mean, I think it's been self-answered, but I just wanted to make a point of, obviously artists and labels and managers and everyone want to get on those playlists because of the reach. Do you think there's something else behind that? I'm thinking of territory where the playlist is consumed. I believe there's also kind of a mistake in thinking, I want to break an artist in the US, so I should try my best to get him on a US Latin curated playlist. But is that real? Isn't it more important where the playlist is consumed?
I can speak a little bit to that. I think the intricacies of Latin music specifically, which is our area of expertise, lend itself to trying out things on local levels, and if they work, bumping them up to regional levels, and if that works, bumping them up to global levels, and being part of a team that can help customers discover a new artist from a country that maybe is not the US, but we can break them in the US. Like, that's such a passionate part of the job. for us. It comes with a lot of strategy as well on how do we do that? How do we bridge the gap from a brand new artist with a really cool song, but nobody knows them, to working them through our programming to make them discoverable to as many people as possible. So I think playlists are a great tool for us to do that as well. So it's not only with the huge hits and what's consumed locally, but that strategy from our side as well.
And I think to your point is that just like creating playlists and programming a channel or a station, there's always that component of the person behind these creation is that gut feeling. You always have to find some sort of connection because music is very, very personal. And if it connects with you, regardless of where you're finding it, and the discovery is the coolest part, I think, of all of our jobs. I mean, let's face it, we get paid to consume massive amounts of music. I think I would have never believed that if you told me that when I was a kid, I would get paid to hear music, but that's what I do. And it's beautiful to find these artists that are independent in Peru, in Chile, in Mexico, in Uruguay, many countries that on a global scale sometimes aren't looked at. Salvador, for example, sometimes all you hear is negative news, but there's a beautiful music scene there. And if it connects with you that you're creating this, how can I say it in English, this outline, un bosquejo, an outline of what it, whether it's a playlist or program an hour of music, if it connects with you, it's because there's something good there that's going to connect with a wider audience. And I think that's what it boils down to at its nuts and bolts.
I think that to that point, I feel like nothing's better to find someone, an artist that has like less than 1,000 or 2,000 followers online. I'm like, oh, no one knows about this. This is amazing. And then you want to keep it for a little bit, and then you want to spread it to the world. And like my coworker says, we're professional song pickers. That's literally what we are.
I also want to add, on Deezer, we're really proud to be very local, and I wouldn't underestimate the local side and the local power. If you own your local market, chances are that even internally, we're going to help you grow to other territories. And some of our playlists are very local, like Vallenato in Colombia, but are some of the most engaged and strongest locally. And that's important for you guys to know. Yes, like global playlists are great. Many of our playlists they're seen and they're available worldwide. But if you are in this really niche playlist that has an engaged audience, you can get really strong results as well. So just to add on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, as well as an obsession with playlists, there's also an obsession with very fast growth. And I want to pick up on what you said about local. Obviously, we've got cases of, superstars that, they impact everywhere. There's always a lot of work behind. And, we can talk about lots of, huge stars right now. We can talk about Bad Bunny. We can talk about Sech. We can talk about so many. And I believe lots of, smaller artists or emerging ones even, and that's going to be our next discussion. They're like so anxious and they want to get everything. So I love what you said about local. Do you think the strategy is to start by establishing yourself in your local market, or perhaps it's not even your local market, but the market where you're growing, and then do the jump, right? And that's a little bit what I meant with, like an escalation plan. Obviously, local playlists, not always, but can be smaller because, they're reaching to a limited audience in a way, but then start growing. Local playlists, regional playlists, and then, global playlists.
I totally agree with that. We call it ladder strategy, what we use, right? So the idea is that we can step by step work the songs up, right? And when it has a good performance and you own this really, not small playlist, but very niche playlist first, you're engaging with an audience that might turn from a listener to a fan, which is at the end, the goal that artists should have, turning them into fans. And then little by little, go step by step, kind of reaching newer audiences, right? So I totally agree with what you're saying, Inez. It's very important for artists to understand that and see the beauty of of a really niche playlist that can get you amazing fans and amazing results as well.
Excellent. And we were just talking about, and Ellen was very, I love what you said about emerging artists, and Jesus as well. And I find that, you know, everyone here is super into that, into not discovering, because that's like a weird name, like you don't want to own them, but about, you know, seeing something there, like in very new artists, emerging artists. And my next question has to do with that, because what happens with an artist that it's not on a label? It's all do it yourself. And sometimes they find it or they think, so I want to help them out, they think it's very hard to get attention from programmers, for instance. Do you have any tips on that?
For me, on the programming side of this panel, I think the most important part, especially for independent artists, is to have a story. As part of La Cueva, I have a bi-weekly show. It's called El Sitio, which is similar to what Michelle was talking about, the ladder strategy. El Sitio focuses on upcoming new music, local artists, as well as mostly independent music that later, as it grows, it goes into regular programming. So that's a strategy I use on my channel. But to your question, I think for me, in searching for these artists, especially for El Sitio, that they're independent, having a story, meaning having a strong social media presence, that all your profiles are connected, that your presence is strong. If you have a PR person helping you, even better, but you don't need someone that you have to pay them to do it for you. Nowadays, I think with COVID, it's the perfect example that we can all do it ourselves because we're figuring out ways to do it. But if you have a story, if you've been published and if an article was written about you, if someone posted a video of a performance you had at a show, all those things help. And the way that you engage with your fans, your social media presence does impact the attention of programmers, because just because you're independent, there's always going to be a standard that we have to meet. On my case, I'm a subscriber-based service. So people are paying for the content that I'm creating, and I have to provide to that level to keep them engaged. So just because you're independent doesn't mean you can't do it.
What about you guys? Mitch, for instance?
Well, on the we kind of work with we call it a triangle of stream. That's how we name it. So first of all, I would say don't be afraid of reaching out. One of our components is social media. On our @Deezer Latino page, like we have really active team, a really active team looking and searching for the artists that are actively working towards growing their audiences on Deezer, and we take that into account, as well as just like sliding to a DM to ask for help or guidance on how to connect better with platforms. I'm sure it's gonna help you. We're gonna be able to guide you to the right person or the right place where you can get in your radars, present your music, pitch it. That's step one. Step two is that within our team, we have artist marketing people that their work is to talk, engage, and really get to know the strategies behind artists in all of the territories. So we meet with labels, with managers, with artists to really understand their story, as Ellen said, and also their strategy. How are they working to grow their music, not only on our platform, but offline as well? How's their presence? What are their demographics? How can we start helping them get more people to know them in our platform too? So that's another way to go about it. And then the third one, and I'll go back with the local scene, that for us is really important. We have local editors dedicated to finding what are the music trends, what are the moves that are happening, and what are the peaks that are happening very local. So those are our taste makers. And they sometimes even tell us, hey, reach out to these artists because something is happening here in Bogota. Okay, like you might even get surprised and you're gonna be reached out by a Deezer person try to work on bigger projects just because you're having a local impact that is getting the attention of our editors. So I think we work on those three ways, and if you're active on communicating and if you're not afraid to ask, you'll find answers and you'll find ways to work closer with platforms.
I would definitely slide into that DM. I personally check my DMs about a couple times a month and listen to the songs. If they're good, I'll place them and I will get back to them. If they're not, I'm a nice person. I'm not going to say to stop following your dreams. I just don't answer them. 'Cause who am I to say, hey, you're kind of whack. So anyway, so yeah, so check slide into people DM. Be persistent. Also, being nice goes a long way. In general, just in life. Be respectful and professional. If there was no names for any artist, but there was an artist, a rising artist, that did that, slid into my DM, put her on a playlist, and then she wasn't nothing about professional. She wasn't consistent. She didn't put out any music for another year. So you have to be consistent, especially in these times. Like you have to put your name out there, especially you're a rising artist, because all the Bad Bunnies of the world. That's the way they did it. They took the hip hop mentality and like flood the market. So yeah, so check those DMs.
That's amazing. And connected to that, I wanted to know your thoughts on, do you think there's a strategy that works better in terms of how to release single after single after single, or just an album without notice, as we have recently seen some cases? But do you think everything works? Depends on the kind of genre, on the kind of artist. Of course, it's a case by case strategy, but overall, do you feel the single model is working? Do you feel fans are still waiting for an album, and sometimes it takes too long for the album to arrive? How do you feel listeners or fans react to a full album being released without notice, without nobody knowing about it? Do you think there's anything like to advise for artists?
I think there's no right way to do it. Just like you said, I think we're in a time where the rules have been thrown out the window, and it's a lot of experimentation, which is exciting. And you never know what's going to happen next, which is cool. But people are just trying to see what works for their lane, whether it's their country or their genre or whatever. And our team continues to work with artists and their teams on identifying opportunities on Amazon Music, on how we can work with them with whatever strategy they're adapting to their career. Yeah, but it's a wild, wild west.
Oh, I would say, just personally, I think some artists should take a break. Like this, like they have like a hot single and they put it out, and then next week they put another one out, and the next week another one out. I'm like, you didn't let that one breathe. That one was a dope track. Like, let it breathe and see what it does. I mean, who's to say things to artists? I guess Ines, maybe.
But adding to that, I think it's important that artists maybe not like single drops every week, but that they do understand that their strategy has to be on having different communication points during the year or during like a few months, so that their audiences can re-engage with their content and go back. So maybe it's not a single, as Jesus says, like let it grow, but you do have to have these different communication points for your audiences to go back to that content, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And as long as artists, if artists can analyze their data, they can see those trends of what works specifically for them and create what works best for them in the future.
Absolutely. And also, manage expectations. If you're releasing a single a week, not everything is going to, it's a great way to see, as you say, what works better, what your audience wants, but at the same time, not everything is going to have the same results. And, that's pretty normal. And talking about that, we're currently living extraordinary times. That's why we're not together in New York, which sucks. Yeah, we're all adapting. And I wanted to talk about how COVID-19 and this whole crazy thing going on has affected releases. Releases on the one hand, and also consumption, and in your different platforms, how you're seeing making an impact, a negative, a positive impact. Do you feel like artists are releasing less music, more music? I think when this all began, we had some thoughts of how it was going to be. Then stuff changed. Then, you know, we're slowly going back to normal. How has COVID-19 affected releases?
I think artists are, you know, I think initially there was a little trepidation to see, oh, should I release now or not? But I think once the bigger artists started releasing their albums, and you know what, this is the time where music can heal and just give things people, you know, things for people to do and listen to that, you know, while they're in lockdown, everyone started, you know, flooding the gates. I think there was maybe 1 week there was kind of a slow week, but everything else has been pretty much business as usual. And then for us, like at Tidal, we were luckily enough, we were one of the first to, like, you know, just adapt to this old at-home strategy, and you know, making sure our moods playlists were up to date, and you know, people are cooking at home, people are watching their kids, and just as programmers now we have to switch, right? Because people aren't going to be laying on the beach; they're going to be laying on the couch. So just different strategies to come up with different playlists. But I think the music, I mean, I can speak for myself. I sure I don't speak for everyone else. Has saved a lot of us just in general, like during these times. It's very pressing. I find myself sending messages to artists saying thank you. I literally said thank you to Setch for his album, and because you know, we all need this right now. So
I've been busier than I have in the rest of the year.
Right.
These past months. I think to Jesus's point, the first week of once it was official, everyone go home, I think we were all assimilating to what was actually happening, that it wasn't a sci-fi movie and this was reality. But on my end, it's been creating specialty programming. I've created shows that are called like the antibacterial playlist, for example, and I've reached out directly to artists and say, hey, even though my channel is Latin rock alternative, tell me what you're listening to. And they present it because it's a way of connecting while being socially distant. Today, for example, Memorial Day weekend, it's the start of summer, but we're not going anywhere. But for example, Circo, which is a big indie band in the Latin alternative scene and in Puerto Rico, we have the premiere of their new album, and it's the first album in 13 years. So they were eager to also say, hey, let us do something with you. If anything, COVID has opened more the lines of communications directly to the artist, which is nice, on a more human level. There's always the networking angle to everything that we do in this business, but I think we've been able to relate, I have, on a more personal level. And the content that we've been creating is much more personal and honestly cooler. And also the way I've been programming my channel, it's more, yes, we have a component of new music, but it's more so classics, like the music that takes you to happier times, that connects with you on a more personal level. Because the way we consume music is completely different now than it was even 5 years ago. So that's been also, I think, the biggest takeaway from this time that we're living in.
So you're all seeing more consumption in catalog than new releases, of course. And yeah, of course, it has to do with what you say. I mean, you want to go back to happier times, to more free times. I don't know, like
it's an escape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course, music has that effect on you. It, you know, takes you back in time and, you know, to other places. So yeah, and I agree with what Jesus said. You know, thank you everyone for, you know, keep on releasing music. We're getting so excited. There have been very big releases in these past 2 months, and I think for fans, and having artists doing Instagram lives or YouTube live, and, you know, reaching out, I think that's key. But yeah, of course, when there are big plans ahead of big releases, sometimes they get pushed. And I think we're in a time, and I would love to know your opinion, where we're very flexible. I believe we have to be flexible, but we're being more flexible than ever. Like, you're trying to understand what's behind somebody's, not only you know, as a business decision, but also as a personal decision. It's obviously it's a business, but these are artists, and they're releasing stuff which is very, very dear to them. So I think it's a time to be understanding, even if they want to release everything, you know, last minute, or if they want to push. Yeah, it's what Jesus said about another topic. We have to be kind. We have to be kind to each other. Absolutely. And there's this huge player that, I mean, has been very important for the past year or more, but I feel like right now is getting a lot of highlight, which is TikTok. Everywhere I look, there's people on TikTok. I was seeing just a few years ago, I was watching a news show on Argentinian TV, and I haven't watched Argentinian TV in like 15 years, but I saw there was actually a TikTok section on the news. They're just showing, you know, fun, cute videos. So Enrique, I want to talk about a little bit about TikTok with you. And I want to ask you, how do you feel Latin artists are using TikTok to reach a wider audience?
I think it's a starting for Latin artists in Latin America, and then the COVID situation also bring maybe this extra time for them to understand and act on the digital landscape. And for us from TikTok, which is, as you told, it's pretty new, even though we have seen a lot of charts tracking starting at TikTok, especially on markets where we have been developed for more time. But they're very creative, right? Let's be honest. Latin people are very extremely creative. So what I can say is there is different levels of understanding. Of course, it's a platform that's very unique in the way we propose people to engage with. And so it's very unique also on how artists will understand what they can get from TikTok. And I always say that there is two different opportunities for them, which is one is for the artist itself as a social influencer, and the other one is for the song. They are two different strategies and two different mindsets that you can have to try to take the best advantage of TikTok. But overall, we have seen very creative ideas coming from Latin America. We have seen amazing engagement coming from Latin America, but still, I understand that the ones that will understand and will propose their music, environments, creative ideas to our creators in Latin America, they still have a very open roads to achieve the goal. And it's a gold rush for us now. I mean, literally there is dozens of millions of users, hundreds of millions of active users in the platform, which is a discovery platform, because when you go inside TikTok, the main thing you see is things that you're not waiting or expecting to be introduced to. So this audience is growing today faster than the artist's adoption in the level they could be using the platform. So still, I think the ones that will understand and arrive very early, they will have amazing numbers. And we're having already a few artists that are growing way faster on TikTok than any other platform that they use it to have for their social, because they're very creative. They have found their voice to communicate with this audience, and they are growing literally, I mean, a lot. Camille is a good example as a Latin artist that's doing very well in TikTok, and he's doing a lot of amazing things, and he's young, and he's bigger than many superstars that we know from the Latin music industry that are also in TikTok. But he is growing very fast because I think, again, he found the way, he found the voice. Of course, it's a different kind of platform, so you need to be a little bit on the evaluation before and try to set up what you have as a strategy to achieve this audience, because after that it's quite the same, right? You have to keep it going, you have to have a certain cadence on posting and etc. And just to, I mean, I would to answer the panel's question is how to get in the radar, I would answer TikTok. TikTok is an open platform to, and I would love to listen to my colleagues from the other platforms, how they are looking into TikTok consumption, because it's very viral, it's very natural, it's organic, it's basically it's the power in the hands of the creative communities all around the world. So it makes all those natural viral curves and cases happen all the time inside the platform, you know, and it is influencing also editorial outside the platform. We inside, we don't have that much editorial efforts that we can see outside, and we do have some, but it's more related to, I always tell to the artists, what we are looking into the editorial, it's way more related on how to facilitate video creations, not how to consume music. So the reflection is totally different for us deciding on what's gonna get there. But I mean, this is overall what I think. Latins are very creative, they're engaging a lot, but the truth is we have a lot to be exploited. And when I say this, it's way more in terms of our user creative base than ourselves as a team, you know. Again, TikTok, and the biggest power, it is in the hand of the creators, which is not handled by us. It's common people becoming recognized by their creative lines of work or just fun moments with whatever they decided to have, right?
Yeah, and that, sorry.
I think user-generated content is a great way to make people really get closer to your songs, and make them, those songs, part of your lives, even if it's for like 15 seconds or 1 minute videos. And people are looking for this entertainment while in COVID, going back to the COVID idea. So they're having more time, they're searching for that music. And in Latin America, for us on Deezer, we have seen trends of people looking for TikTok hits, songs. So this is something that it's moving consumption on the streaming platform side as well, and we're taking it into account, and we're getting users to find the music that they're searching, right? So
that's a
good platform.
That's a great point that I wanted to bring to everyone. How do we connect the dots between a song becoming viral on TikTok, having 1 million videos created, having, having it viral there, and then seeing I don't know if the same, but a similar behavior on Amazon Music, on Sirius, on Deezer, on Tidal? Is there any tips, any best practices from both sides? I mean, from TikTok and from your side, because sometimes we see some great peaks, and what is going on? Yeah, of course, people are seeing the TikToks, and then they're going to their platform of choice to listen to the song and to become a fan. But is there any advice? Because at the same time, not everything that's a hit on TikTok is a hit everywhere else. Do you think there's any tips you can give?
I think from our side, what we see is there is always an impact when people, as Michelle was saying, use this music and personalize the experience around it. They will not only usually, well, one, to do a video, you listen to the same thing multiple times, right? So it's very powerful to have the same piece of song coming to your head. And what happens in TikTok is that when music, it's the centerpiece of a trending creative action, because we always have to remember that music in TikTok is never only about the music. It's the music plus the video. So the music needs to be empowering the video creation in one side. And sometimes it's about the lyrics, sometimes it's about the beat, sometimes it's about the, I don't know, video clip, dance, whatever. It depends on the creative push that it can give. But it's when people and this community, because there is also this sense which is, there is no one single that goes viral and the others doesn't. It depends on communities. And when you use TikTok, and it's very funny, you check your friends' TikTok, you're gonna realize how far away sometimes they are in terms of what kind of contents you do have. And then you realize that you're not speaking to one single TikTok user base, but multiple TikTok user base. What are you trying to tell to artists now? It's try to identify what community can engage with your music, in the sense that they will own this and feel like it represents them. So it can be a sports community, a do-it-yourself community, beauty or fashion, or whatever kind of consumers or communities that we do have inside the platform that can find in that specific song something that they will take for themselves, and then it will translate to their music consumption. Because again, they will be exposed to the music in TikTok, but they will consume in another place for sure. So the tip that I can give is try to take a step back and evaluate your music as a creative tool. Again, speaking about tool, but as a creative tool for people out there and common people out there. Doesn't think in a very professional use of your music like it was a sync for a very famous brand that nobody can reproduce at home, because people want to. And the very cool thing about TikTok is this is a product that people come not only to watch, but to take part in it, to produce videos, to be part of the trending, to expose themselves. They don't feel ashamed to expose themselves in that. So motivating this use of music, and not the exposure only of the music, but literally letting open on giving directions that are more precise on how people can use your music to make their moments with the music. It's the best way for sure to have those viral moments, achieve a certain group of people, and then see those streaming translating into other platforms. And we have seen even catalog songs coming to very, I mean, I will not gonna mention charts names, but very important charts names all over the globe, just because they become too trending on TikTok. So it's, and then we can realize how impactful it can be. Like to bring a song that was 3 years old to charts in a day like today, without any promotion or external than the TikTok viral situation. I mean, it can be very powerful. Of course, the other hand, it's not everything can go viral at the same time. Viral, it's about a perception for a certain community on how the song can be, in the case of TikTok, use it to empower their creativity in terms of video inside the platform. There will always room for new songs to be viral, but it's impossible that all the songs come viral at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, TikTok is a great, as you said, it's a great tool. A great tool. And I think more and more artists are realizing that and are becoming more active, which is amazing because it's super fun. So we all get to enjoy, you know, great videos and great music. And we're gonna be, you know, summing up before some viewers' questions, but I just wanna close by talking, you know, about like the big picture.
Ines, sorry to interrupt, but can I just finalize something that I think is super important for
Yes.
us too? It's the way content distributed on TikTok makes that they will achieve new audiences all the time. This is very important for me. And even, I mean, you can link your accounts on other platforms to your TikTok accounts. And we have seen this very heavily, which is artists discovered that they can reach newer audiences way easier on TikTok, because the video will be exposed to no matter how many people will be interested on consuming each specific content that comes and is published in the platform. And it will always achieve new audiences. So it's very important to also understand that TikTok can be a leverage for you to increase your fan base and translate this increase of fan base in your all other platforms. And then you have different channels that you can combine on your strategy on how to auto promote yourself. But I mean, TikTok is very, very, because it's an open, the way we distribute content again makes that you're not reaching the audience that already follows you, but you're always reaching newer audiences that can be interested in consuming your content, right? So this makes also a very, I think today, the best tool for you to organically grow your fan base in a creative way, of course.
Absolutely, yeah, to get noticed. I mean, and when that translates, as you said, because I think it's very important to understand TikTok. It's a marketing tool. It's a great way to get visibility, and we can all work together on that. So yeah, it's very exciting what's happening with TikTok, and I think the whole industry appreciates it a lot. So quickly, let's talk about the growth of streaming in US Latin versus Latin America. How do you see, or if you want to, if we can be more precise, how do you see the growth of streaming for US Latin? And what are your expectations for next year? Is this non-stoppable? We're seeing Latin music is over-indexing everywhere. So Latin explosion has been here for a few years and will still continue. What are you seeing right now, and what do you expect to see in the following years?
Yeah, I can speak to
Amaya.
to Latin music, specifically on Amazon Music. We've seen a lot of growth in popularity across the US and in multiple territories where we're available around the world. A thing I can point to is our Fuego Latino playlist, which is one of our top playlists worldwide across all genres. And in the last 4 months, it's grown 150% versus the 4 months prior to that. So that's a very clear indicator that it's on fire. No pun intended.
It is.
I think overall Latin music, I always say the growth of Latin music is because of hip hop, because Latin music, you strip away the language of Bad Bunnies and Balvins, they're rappers. And I feel like that's what a lot of us fail to say. Like, if it wasn't for hip hop, Latin music would not be where it is right now. And then even now, yeah, you got the reggaetoneros, but then you also have the bilingual R&B stars like Paloma Mami. Guess what? She's raised on hip hop. Like, we were all raised on hip hop, and if it wasn't for hip hop, Latin music wouldn't be growing the way it is. Because we're not talking about, those bookies growing. We're talking about, Tiny growing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's all. That's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents.
It's very true.
On this area has been really interesting as well. We have had J Balvin as the most streamed artist for 2 years consecutively. So this shows how present Latin music is, not only US Latin, not only Latin America, but in other markets in the world. France being one of our top markets, Brazil, Germany, and so many others. We had also a case last year. Manuel Turizo was chosen as This Your Next Act. He's an artist that we support during a full year program. And we saw an increase of 175% on streams worldwide and in France. So a country like France that embraces hip hop as their own there as well, has an artist like Manuel Turizo, he's having France as one of his top countries. So how do you explain that? Well, Latin is worldwide now, right? So it's not only US Latin, it's everywhere in the world. And I think in your question about like the next years, I was checking here the IFPI data, and it says that Latin America was the fastest growing region for 2019. So it also shows that we still have a lot of potential to keep growing the consumption of Latin music with our Latin audiences as well. So that's really impressive too, because I don't think we're at the peak here. I think we're still on the upside and growing that trend. So that's really exciting to see.
It is.
Yeah,
We're gonna.
Sorry, I was just complimented from a TikTok perspective. What we see is that also Asia, which was coming to this global, not only US, but I mean Asia, that is, we have seen already a few songs that became very viral on TikTok in Asia, which is amazing, of course. And then I was trying to dig if the artist has a recognition over there in those markets. And what my colleagues over there say is that there is not yet a recognition to the artists, but the songs are very popular already. And we have seen this with different songs. I mean, Brazilian funk, even Latin funk, because now we have those kinds of Latin, Brazilian inspired funk, which it was inspired in my embeds anyway. So everybody's inspired everybody. But also reggaeton and other musics that were becoming viral in Asia and surprising the artist team over here. I mean, I remember one of the biggest stars in Latin America saying to me that they had a very good synchronization in Japan that came to them without them realizing even how this happened. And it was related to this. I mean, Latin music, I think, brings so much of culture around. I mean, there is the culture of the dance, the culture of people, the happiness. There is so many things attached to Latin music. And the world was already with not much contact, but understanding the value of Latin music, that now that the digital has broken all the barriers, I'm seeing now this Asia, I'm hoping to see this Asian increase of Latin music consumption as also one of the next big things for the Latin music industry.
And I think in the next years, it's just going to get bigger. Instead of US Latin, it's going to be global, like everybody has said. And also it's a mirror for what artists are doing. If you take, for example, the group that's called Lagos, the lead singer, Luis Jimenez, he has a rock band, Los Mesoneros. He's also in Arahuato, which are very rock alternative, but Lagos is more urban. So I think the streaming component has changed the creative process as well, which is going to open a lot more doors to what artists are doing in the coming years. Not only Latin consumption in the US, but more so on a global scale.
That's so exciting, and it's true. I mean, this is just beginning. So if we've gone so far, what else can we expect? Like everything. So it's very, very good to hear your opinions and everyone seeing such a bright future. I really think so too. So really quick, we've got some questions from viewers I want to share with you. This is for Henrique. So we have Juan Carlos from LA ask, we hear about major artists having big moments on TikTok, but can you share any success stories about less known artists also having success on the platform? And any tips, which I think we've discussed, but it's a great question. I mean, we've got the huge stars, we've got the Osunas of the world doing great content on TikTok. Can we talk about smaller ones, newer ones? Do you have any success stories you can share?
I have one that was very small at the time. Now, with Lil Nas X. I mean, can we share this one? Because what we have to understand that in the past, we have seen Lil Nas X is the best example of that. Artist that became global success after, and now we say it's for big ones, but it's not. It's the truth is that things that go viral tend to become very viral and very identifiable. So keeping on the US, where we have been operating with more time, but Doja Cat now, and even Lisa with Truth Hurts, I mean, the level that she kept after this success. But we have, of course, we have, I'm terrible with names nowadays, but we have, I remember more in Brazil because I was checking on, but we have in Brazil at least 2 brega funks, which are very specific drawn from Brazil. There are from artists that are, again, they are not new as artists, and they are starting to become new as artists because it was up to now a single that became viral in the platform. The difference that I see today in between Latin America overall and US is that in US there is always a perception that if there is something that is rising on TikTok, you're gonna have the whole industry coming to this opportunity and then joining forces and transforming this viral single into an artist's career that reaches other levels. In Latin America, we don't have the same professional structure around. We don't have the same environment for the music business. So we have, yes, a few and every time more cases in all the territories in Latin America that are breaking songs, but we are still waiting to see those new careers that can be start rising careers to start at TikTok. And again, when I say starting at TikTok, is not bringing this to us as a power. It's literally bringing to our users community, because they are the ones that make something viral, and they are the ones who are creatively thinking on using those songs and taking them for them. But I mean, I don't give you names, but I give you the right answer that we do have this happening in Mexico, in Brazil, in Colombia and Argentina. Most probably we are going to see more and more happening too, because those markets are growing very fast for us, Chile and all the other territories. But we do, I mean, we are establishing a team, and we are starting to work more on those data analysis and everything else. But what we see is that there is, we wasn't able to do the same kinds of supports that we have seen with TikTok in other territories that are more mature. But now we are organized, and we are starting to exactly working on identifying those very early trends and supporting them and trying to help them reach the next level, with the difference that the next level in Latin America sometimes is harder to achieve because of the overall environment than you have in the West, right? And I don't know about the tips. I think there is tons, and honestly, I We are preparing more documentation to share online with everybody who's interested in best practice for TikTok, but we do have profiles for best practice, our official profile. And at the worst, what I recommend today is get in touch with our official profiles and ask for best practice. We including have a team who does training on best practice with multiple audiences and sometimes with one-on-one with artists, depending on the demands.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then the last one we've got, which is very literally how to get on the radar, but from a different point of view, we've got Leticia from Mexico City who wants to know, do you suggest I pick song titles with not so common words, so there are not tons of songs with the same name if someone searched it? I mean, it's obviously a creative decision, but do you think in terms of search, it is better to go with uncommon words or word choices? Do you feel this affects how you get on the radar by search?
I would say pick a name that might get a fan base interest because it's weird and they're gonna want to search for it. But when you're actually searching, don't make it that complex so that people don't know how to spell it and maybe cannot get there. So that would be kind of my advice.
Yeah, I'd say specifically for the Amazon Music, one of the ways that people discover music is through voice, and that's through Alexa. And if the name of your song is a bunch of letters and numbers, it's going to be hard for people to find that unless you're working very closely with us prior to releasing it to make sure it's set up correctly. But yeah, I think also just wanted to point out in general, we have an Amazon Music for Artists service that we encourage people to, artists and their teams to check out. It's artists.amazonmusic.com, and it's an analytics destination. And you can also find ways on how to submit songs directly to the programming teams there. Just wanted to get that in there.
That's a great suggestion, because, you know, as we discussed a lot before, new artists who are not on a label, they don't know where to start. You know, they want to get to programmers, and you guys have multiple solutions, and Amazon Music for Artists is a great one. Well, guys, this has been so fun, so interesting. I've learned a lot. I wish we could be here for another hour, but our time is up. I want to thank everyone. You've been amazing. You've shared some great insight, and thank you so much. And hopefully next year we can all be in the same room, not very close, but, you know, still in the same room. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.